Tony Bennett, not the, hey there, it's Tony Bennett and getting wild and crazy. Not that guy, but it's another Tony Bennett. Do you know the Tony Bennett I'm referring to?
I know exactly the Tony Bennett you're referring to.
Okay, but first reference. Do you know both of them?
Yes, I know both of them.
Okay.
Tony Bennett does songs with a bunch of new artists to stay relevant. He had been doing that for years. He did an album with Lady Gaga, funny enough.
He's got that wild, crazy cat sort of feel. All right, so this Tony Bennett just called it a day, called it a career. How old is Tony Bennett as he has now left the University of Virginia as their head coach 3 weeks before the season?
Tony Bennett is, wow, I almost pulled up the Tony Bennett, the one you were talking about, and
Is he still with us?
No, he passed away on July of 20.
Oh, man, there's nothing good about that.
But this Tony Bennett is 55 years old. You know, he is, I'll just say this, we can tell he's aged very well. You know, he's got the salt and pepper, perfect gray hair as a 55-year-old
You're talking about him
man.
or me?
I'm obviously talking about Mr. Bennett. He has retired after, I guess he coached Virginia for 15 years. And after 19 years as a head coach overall. 18 years as a head coach overall, 15 years with Virginia, won a national championship, had a 72% win percentage, 72.8% win percentage, numerous conference championships. He won 6 ACC titles at Virginia, has the distinction of winning a national championship the year after he coached the very first team to ever get bounced out in the first round of the NCAA tournament as a number 1 seed.
Okay, and it took a long time for that to happen. I think it's happened twice now, right?
2 more times since then, I think, actually.
Okay, so this is what scares me, and he's not even as old as Rick Barnes, but this is what scares me with Rick Barnes' age. It's not his mental acumen or it's his ability to recruit or to relate to young people. It is more that he could just up and say, I'm out. And he could have that feeling. You get a little bit older. Some days are better than others. Yeah. Now, I'm not speaking for myself. All days are good, but I've been around older people. So, Caleb, how concerned would you be? Because Mike Hamilton, rest his soul, he called it a bus list. In other words, if Philip Fulmer, this is way before he was in any hot water, but if Philip Fulmer walked in front of a bus and got hit, God forbid, and by the way, Philip just texted me back, we'll have him on next week, but he wanted to have a coach ready and in play. So how concerning should that be that college coaches do this a lot? Mike Krzyzewski did this at an odd time so that he could hand the coaching job off to one of his assistants. I don't think that Rick Barnes has one of those up-and-coming next type of assistants, but college coaches, for whatever reason, like to control the narrative after they leave. So would that concern you if you're Tennessee Athletic Director Danny White?
No, and here's why. And you ask a great question. Let's put this out here. And you guys know that I'm very, very, very hard on college football coaches. I attack them all the time. But what I will say in the favor of college football coaches is I just don't think they always are very smart with their decisions. But I do think they work very hard. They are the literal classic case of work harder, not smarter. You know, you always thought work smarter, not harder. They do the opposite. They work harder, not smarter. Nobody's going to deny. Most college football coaches, they grind, don't they?
Yes.
More than anybody. Mm-hmm. College basketball coaches don't like to do that. They don't grind, guys, quite honestly. They just don't. And the era of NIL and the transfer portal is going to cause you to grind more. Tony Bennett, more than any other coach, and this is the truth, was literally a ball coach in that he liked developing players. And basically, he talked about the transfer portal recently, and he said that there needs to be some oversight with it. Tony Bennett does not like this new situation. It's not that he can't go the transfer portal route. he could be fine. He could win a lot at Virginia. The truth is, for college basketball coaches, this creates a work-life balance that they're not used to, that college football coaches have to deal with all the time. And I've always had to deal with. And I think it sent many college basketball coaches out the back door. Tony Bennett in particular, more than Coach K or Jay Wright or any of those other coaches, he liked developing players. He was the guy, I mean, the old school, I want a freshman to come in, play for me for 4 years, and learn to play the game the right way. And, you know, all that old school stuff. By the way, that's the type of coach Rick Barnes is. But the truth of the matter is, Rick Barnes was never opposed to saying, I'll take a one and done here, I'll take a one and done there. I think that was a mistake, honestly. I thought he should never have taken one and dones as freshmen. But where Rick Barnes is willing to accept the transfer portal is that Rick Barnes, one, he actually does have a work ethic like a college football coach. But the other point of this is that Rick Barnes knows that this style fits him because he can take one and dones at the higher levels and develop them and win at a much, much higher level. So I think because of that, what drove Tony Bennett out is what's going to keep Rick Barnes around, largely because I think it's just what you take pride in and your work ethic and your effort. Rick Barnes has, I think, probably the highest work ethic of any college basketball coach. And I think also that it's not just about developing players for him. He does want to win games, so he's willing to go the transfer portal route.
Let's say bank on it and get your thoughts. Bank on it. Danny White would actually like to hire a basketball coach. And I've got a couple of reasons why I believe that's the case, and we'll get to it. Bank on it, brought to you by Commercial Bank. Member FDIC, personal and business. Commercial Bank.
Commercial Bank is your neighborhood bank. What makes us different from other banks? We understand that every customer has unique opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. We don't expect you to fit into the same box as the next person or business. Whether it's purchasing a home, saving for your child's future, or planning for your next vacation, we're with you every step of the way to navigate life's big decisions. Commercial Bank.
Okay, here are my thoughts. I think Danny White likes coaches that put up a lot of points. He told Jimmy Himes that. He's done that with the Lady Vols hire, and he's done that with Josh Heupel. I think it helps him market. It's more exciting. It shouldn't be, but 10-2 with a lot of touchdowns is more exciting than 10-2 with a ground and pound. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me, and I think there's some games you have to just survive. But I believe firmly that Danny White does have a list of coaches for when Rick Barnes retires, and I don't know who that list is, but I would go ahead and say if there are 5 guys on that list, there are 5 guys that play tempo and probably 3 that play full court press, and that's what he wants. And that's never going to be what Rick Barnes does.
No, but I think the difference between Tony Bennett and Rick Barnes is Rick Barnes doesn't just reject offense. I mean, Rick Barnes changed his philosophy at age 70 or 69 last year. I mean, he's going for scores now. By the way, he went for Dalton Connect. Did y'all notice Dalton scored 20 straight points last night for the Lakers in a preseason game? Everybody's in love with him in LA, and he's a perfect fit for LeBron, provided they don't put Bronny out on the court too much more because that dude can't play.
Did somebody tell you that yesterday? And I think he scored 38 points last night.
Yes, you did. But I don't think he's going to be the first Tennessee player to do that over the next 10 years. I think you're going to see a litany of players because the NBA, here's what the NBA is about to realize. There are a bunch of great, fundamentally sound scorers that they missed on because they came from lower levels of basketball and they fell way too much in love with athleticism.
I'm just going to ask you this question. Who is Rick Barnes' second all-time player to Kevin Durant?
LaMarcus Aldridge. We had this debate a couple of days ago. LaMarcus Aldridge is the second best all-time player to Kevin Durant.
I know. Dalton Connect is going to be better than LaMarcus Aldridge.
No, he's not. You are on crack. He's not going to be better than LaMarcus Aldridge. Dalton Connect's going to be a very good player. But he's not going to be LaMarcus Aldridge. And by the way, he may not even be the best. This is why Rick Barnes is changing his system. In a couple of years, you might say Darlington Dubar is better than Dalton Connect in the NBA. You might say Chaz Lanier is better than Dalton Connect. Rick Barnes he has found the model that no one else found, which is that lower level scores.
You're Nicoing this take. You're getting too high on Chaz Lanier too early. Dalton Connect was a once every 20 years type of player. I'm sorry, Caleb. I mean,
when
you and I were talking about how talented Vince Yarbrough was, but he didn't have the drive. And Dalton Connect had all the above.
Okay, put it this way.
The chances of having that again are slim.
Well, not if you smartly look at the lower levels of basketball, which Rick Barnes does. I'll give you an example is Scottie Pippen. Now, totally different player, not a scorer. But, this went to Central Arkansas. Why was he not more highly touted? He was 6'1" when he got to college, and then he grew like 6 inches and became 6'7", and then got noticed by the Bulls. If this were today's era of basketball, Dave, you do know that Rick Barnes would have given Scottie Pippen a contract and opened up the NIL checkbook for him for his final year of college to play, because that's where Rick Barnes goes. He looks for kids who have polished their game at the lower level over 4 years. So Chaz Lanier is that, Darlington Dubar is that. I am telling you guys, Dalton Connect is going to be what the run of Oklahoma quarterbacks were under Lincoln Riley. He's the Baker Mayfield, basically. He's starting it, but then there's going to be Kyler Murray, and then there's going to be Jalen Hurts, and then there's going to be Caleb Williams.